All right. What's up?
Hydration is important, man. Let's get it on. What's up, dude?
Not a whole lot, man.
Ain't freaking either, brother.
I feel bad talking about tragedy in our own hometown when shout out to Brian Zane. His mom passed away.
Yeah,
Sad to hear that. But
that's Brian, as we've discussed it before. Brian is definitely one of the favorites. We love that guy, man. So Jared was just telling me that, man, that sucks. I hate to hear that.
But man, it's I've been to funerals in times of COVID, and I've been to a funeral and a viewing, so it's surprised there's a big gap in how serious some people take it. With there's one in my family where everybody was kind of following the rules, doing the mask, and only so many people allowed. Then I go to another one where they were like, nah, we're not going to do that.
Hey, we're here, man.
I was like, what's going on? But I felt bad. Even it's not even comparing them, but some of the tragedy in our own hometown that broke this weekend of little Hawaiian didn't make it through the quarantine.
That's quite the bummer.
I mean, talk about a restaurant that I loved and hadn't been to in a long time, but I was just certain that they've got support. That place is always packed. They'll be fine. It turns out they're not. So that stunk to hear that news.
I totally agree, man. Little Hawaiian is kind of like it's relatively upscale for where we live, man. I mean, it's awesome. That place is great, man. So I hate that because I love going there, and I'm gonna miss the hell out of it.
There's some type of news where I think one of the chefs is going to try to keep going. There's a place in town called Cafe 27. I don't know what it is, or if it's like a food truck, or if they're just getting rid of what they had there. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but for all practical purposes, they're done.
Yeah,
so
man.
Hopefully they'll find their way back.
Even if it's piecemeal. Yeah, even if it's piecemeal, like you're saying, man, one person here, one person there, that's okay, man. It's just that was some good eating, man. So I will miss them, but that's good news. I hope everybody sticks around.
Heck yeah, man. So that's what I was doing. Was I was going on his video to kind of get a review of the shows because I didn't watch them this weekend, and then that was the first thing you hear, and I was like, I have to watch this some other time. I can't do it right now.
Seriously, man, you gotta be in the headspace for that, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I missed him too. I did record the AEW show, or at least part of it, because I was telling the man as many times as I record sports, man, I always set for overtime. I always set for I just record into the next thing. That way, you'll have it, and it happens all the time, man. Now soccer has ruined me because you can get that. It's like, yeah, okay, it's done. But I just did not even think about it. I knew that I really believed they'd be preempted with basketball because, hey, man, if it's on, that's the priority. I did not even think about it, but it's okay. All I missed was
that's what had them being on Saturday in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basketball.
Yeah, but there's playoff basketball every day, so it's like, yeah, man, I should have thought of that. But I was telling the man, all I missed was the tag tournament final, which I'm okay with. I'm really happy that Diamante, and I cannot remember her name for nothing, but I'm glad they won. I'm glad who won. I am also thrilled. We talked about Thunder Rosa and Holiday showing up and challenging whoever wins. Well, that didn't happen, but what did happen is probably even better. So I still can't, I still don't think I'm going to be able to do the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
But God dang, man. Especially if they do FTR against Omega and Hangman, like I think they're going to, plus Io Shirai, I'm sorry. What is wrong with me, man? I forgot her freaking name. I just sat here and forgot.
Rito?
No, Shida. Yeah, man. Shida versus Thunder Rosa. See, that time I got Holiday stuck in my head. I do that all the time. But those two matches, I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I hate y'all are killing me, man, because now I got to think about it.
Yeah.
But I missed that, and I missed Cody and Brody, and That's fine. I have mixed emotions about the Brody Lee win because I love the story as far as Brody goes in, kicks the hell out of him. It gives Dark Order a champ. That's cool. It gives Brody Lee his fucking heat back after they fed him to Jon Moxley, so that's good. But I don't know how I feel about Brody Lee being TNT champ. Just because, man, I guess mainly because, like I've been talking, my idea, I fell so in love with my idea of MJF being that champ that I don't know how I feel about anybody else having it. MJF being AEW champion, I think is a terrible, terrible idea. Yeah. Is he a better AEW champion than Moxley? Oh, yeah. The problem is he's too good of an AEW champion, and who the hell are you going to have beat him for the title? Because people will be pissed no matter who it is. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And that includes Moxley. If Moxley defends, they better be ready to get it off of him. Because I think, just the opinion that I'm getting, or the vibe I'm getting, man, I think people are sick of Moxley anyway. Because Jon Moxley, in my opinion, has been exposed. He is not that good. He has never been that good. He comes in, cuts promo, does his thing, man. Well, the thing about Moxley promos is this. There's a real secret to them nobody ever talks about. They are always taped. Always. I love video promos. I think it's much smarter to do it that way. Cactus Jack did a lot of those too. But if you got a second take and a third take, that's awesome. But it ain't the same thing as Ric Flair going out with Tony Schiavone and kicking it. It's not the same thing as Flair going out with Mean Gene and really kicking it, because that was one take. That's live, man. So we're live, pal.
Yeah.
I just it's not the same. It's just not, man. Anyway, I just don't like the guy because I just think his in-ring is overrated as hell and always have, and that's what people are starting to notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I don't know why I'm getting off on that, I guess because I really don't know how to feel about that one. I think MJF being champ eventually is a damn good idea. I just don't know about now because I don't know if you've got anybody that can beat him for it. Maybe Orange Cassidy could probably get away with it. Maybe Darby Allin, but I don't know about even them, man. Mainly because, geez, if you go from great to even more over, you really, maybe you could though, because then whoever beats either one of them for it is, dude, they're Mr. Heel #1.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. Maybe they can make that work. They haven't done me wrong yet, man. So, all right.
You still got Scorpio Sky and guys like that could, be in the mix to try to do something like that. So it's something to look forward to. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, man. What you talked about, man. There's the 2 title matches now for whatever. I think All Out, I think, is the one they're doing. I really don't remember. But whatever the next pay-per-view is, the 2 title matches booked for that. Well, I shouldn't say 2 because we just mentioned one. But the Women's Championship match and the tag title now. Oh, man, I'm in. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Man, that's I was hearing all the news coming out about people trying to defend Randy Orton. Like, how could Shawn Michaels not sell the kick? Like, where have y'all been? And why are you worried about Randy Orton?
Yeah, seriously. The most protected puppet in all of sports entertainment. And yeah, I said sports entertainment because he's never worked anywhere else, has he? That means it's sports entertainment. Now, Randy's old school. Randy's boring as hell. Boring as hell and incredibly lazy. And it's interesting to bring up Shawn Michaels because as much as I did not like Michaels during his heyday, and I still got some issues with him, there is one thing about Michaels that I've always loved. Yes, he was Vince McMahon's puppet. Yes, he was the protected Hulk Hogan style baby doll and John Cena style baby doll. But Shawn Michaels never took a night off. Michaels was going to take the bumps. He was going to have the best match. He was going to work. It was so weird. You see all the time when people post Hogan matches from Japan, and it's like, who knew Hulk Hogan could work? Hulk could go, especially for as big as he was. He could do awesome stuff, but he didn't because he didn't have to.
Yeah.
And that's because Vince is like, "Gonna be on the road 300 days a year, pal. Better take care of yourself." So he did. And take care of yourself means cheat the fans. Don't ever go out and work, ever. Because even when you work and it's just get beat up for 8 minutes, which means be in a rest hold, then be in a rest hold, then be in a rest hold, then blade, then Hulk up and come back. And it's like, his matches were boring as hell. It wasn't his fault. It was just like, brother, if you're going to pay me for doing that little work, I'll do that little work. I don't blame him. It's just that I think Michaels not making that decision is pretty freaking admirable because everybody else has. But Cena didn't make that decision. That decision was made for him. No, watch the prototype. John Cena can do anything. Okay, if you say so. No, he was like Chris Benoit when he was in OVW. He was like Chris Benoit. He's like a cardboard cutout of Chris Benoit. John Cena, I don't give a damn. People see those big, pretty muscles, and when you say John Cena has no athleticism at all, what do you mean? Dude, musculature is not athleticism, man. It ain't. You can find some. I mean, dude, look at Terry Gordy. Terry Gordy never had any muscle at all.
Yeah.
But that dude, that was an athlete. That guy was graceful, man. He knew what he was doing. Cena, on the other hand, you can have the big, pretty body. It does not make you an athlete. It means you're in great shape, but it don't mean you're in good condition.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I've got sidetracked. But I have the only thing, like you said, I know one thing about SummerSlam. I know one thing about TakeOver. So we can discuss them, but I only know I don't even know what happened with the Orton McIntyre match, man.
I saw a little bit of Raw tonight just 'cause I was tempted to see the Thunderdome and how it looks, and that they were going because I think this is directly related to the Shawn Michaels thing, is they were so putting over that there was an opening promo that McIntyre gets kicked by Randy, and like he comes back out because they had Keith Lee is on Raw now, and he shows up and challenges Randy, and Drew comes back out in the middle of that match. And they're like, "How was Drew standing after getting kicked in the head by Randy Orton?" And they have a little skirmish, and Randy gets him in the back and kicks him again. So now Drew is supposed to be dead because Randy fixed Shawn Michaels' eye, and now he has to kill Drew to get my finish back over, brother.
Yeah, it's absolutely precious that you were right. They wanted Keith Lee on the main roster to feed to Randy Orton immediately. It's like, okay, if y'all say so, man. I'm so happy that, and apparently now even with NXT, any wrestling that is McMahon adjacent, I'm done. I'm very happy, as always. I've been happy for a long time to not watch Raw or SmackDown. If they gon' I'm trying to not curse in this episode because I've gotten bad about that lately. If they're going to do NXT like this, you can keep it too.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, the biggest problem I always had about the whole Karrion Kross thing is there's a way to do it, but it requires Keith Lee to be around. So we weren't going to do that, but we want Keith to win the title and then lose it immediately because we're calling him up. That sucks, man, especially to feed him to Randy Orton. Get out of here. It's like I was saying about Tommaso Ciampa, man. When Randy Orton goes eyeballing coattails, he aims for the stars. Here we go again. What a crock. God, I'm so glad I don't have to. I'm thrilled that anymore I don't have to watch that guy. Thank God.
Not only did Keith Lee get called up to Raw, I think he got called into Vince's office and was like, "You got to cover that gut up, brother." So he has his Under Armour sleeveless thing on.
Of course he does.
So
of course he does. Look, it's exactly what you and I talked about. Vince McMahon ain't never gonna see dollar signs on a guy that has that skin tone or that body. No way, because he's a moron. He's a moron.
So I was tempted to see what the Thunderdome looked like, and it looks fine, but it just looks like a NBA ripoff, which is good because it looks good. But my issue with all of the stuff you had to do to get your picture on the wall at the WWE is like, that means you got to guarantee to set aside time to watch the show. And that's just a commitment that I can't make, Vince.
Absolutely. I'm not doing that. I'm not watching anybody's program. This includes AEW. I'm not watching anybody's program.
I'm not ready to go there, Vincent.
Dude, it includes AEW, man. I'm not watching any wrestling in real time. If I can't fast forward it, I'm not in. Yeah. Could not care less. Speaking of fast forwarding, all I do anymore is fast forward commercials. But I cannot believe that the sponsors on TNT are okay with the, hey, let's have our Sammy Guevara vaudeville act with the cards, la-di-da. And here's why. Mm-hmm. When there's action going on in the picture-in-picture, you're still going to be drawn over to the commercials. But there are people like myself. I think there are two types of people in the world. There are folks that don't read anything, and there are people that read everything. So with you having words on the screen, it's distracting as hell. I can't believe they let him do that. I'm like, that really surprises me, man. But anyhow, got sidetracked.
The only thing I've seen so far that's kind of weird about the Thunderdome is you have the billboards, and it looks kind of like what I expected it to, but you have the barricade down front, and you have the screen with what would be, I guess, the guys in the front row. And first of all, even if you sign up to do this, you can't see yourself, but all the screens in the front row are guys like this.
That sounds like, about right.
You're kind of like, that's all I think. Good thing I have my WWE merch on so that people can see all this. Like, hey, what's going on?
Seriously, man. I sure forgot to clean a hat.
Got my red Solo cup for the Profits, brother.
Man, the thing that I think is messed up about the Thunderdome, we're gonna have fan interaction with the screens and monitors. Yeah. How many weeks? Not months. Weeks before Vince is contacted by companies, and that's all corporate logos, because it won't be long. And I can tell you where I figured it out. Watch a baseball game. Any baseball game, and they'll have the pictures of people set up and la-di-da, except the Lexus level, because the Lexus level has the Lexus logo stitched into the back of every seat, and they ain't covering those up. And I'm like, Vince will do this. That's literally what he is going to do. That's the whole point of this. Oh, no, Vince wants the fans to have an interactive experience. No, he does not. I promise you. I promise you. That guy is doing this to figure out, hey guys, see, look at this, look at all this advertisement. Come on, man, how much? I promise you that's what he's doing. Guarantee you. It won't take, if it's 3 months, I'll be shocked. I'm serious. I'm banking on weeks. Yeah. Weeks before at least every other row is sponsored by Subway or Snickers or Hardy Burger or whatever.
This opening bout is brought to you by our good friends at Blue Cheese.
Dude, seriously, it's coming. It's coming. That's what he's doing. And I'm like, cool, buddy.
But I just that I was listening to some of the podcasts, and everybody had their opinion on all the list of BS that you had to go through. It's like, how's that any different than what they were doing when you could buy a ticket? They own your image, and you're not going to get any if you think that you're going to get some type of residual from being what guy from, that's not going to happen. So don't even worry about that.
Yeah, all I can figure is that Undertaker guy, Street guy, and Ms. Girl or Ms. Girl's parents or whatever must have contacted them or something. I'm with you. It's like, no, this you've got to be kidding me, man. It's like, read the back of a ticket sometime. Read the back. Well, but no, man, if the wrestlers, that guy, he got in the ring and the wrestlers beat him up, so he's going to sue Vince McMahon. No. You've obviously never read the back of a ticket, because not only when you jump it, you have no recourse to the company, clearly. You are giving up your rights in the city that you're in. So it's like, dude, not only are you not suing the company, you ain't suing the Omni, or I think of the Omni because of wrestling. It's like, no. I don't care if Omni Security, who are not deputized under any jurisdiction, beat the crap out of you. You're still gonna pay. You're gonna pay them. It's like, nah, man. Read a ticket sometimes. I'm with you. It's like, nah, man. It's a contract. You came over the barricade. You broke the contract. So now we get to break your face. It's like, no, man. I can't believe wrestlers back then used to beat people up. Of course they did. They were looking for that stuff. They were more than happy. More than happy to convince you, oh, this was a mistake. They were very happy.
Was it Nitsky or one of the Packers, or maybe the Ingles guy back in the day, to like cracks old buddy's face when he's like running across the football, and he's like, hey, that guy broke a city ordinance and I enforced it.
That was a dude named Mike Curtis, who used to play for the Colts. And Bill Curry told the funniest story I thought about Mike Curtis ever, aside from him killing that guy. And he was telling, I heard it, that's where I heard that story from too, because he was like, after the game, man, me and several of my teammates go up to him like, man, why do you do that? You make all of us look bad. And that was his reply. But hey, man. But he said, like we'd be in training camp, we'd go down to Florida, and he says, I've never seen this before in my life. And he's like, when it was time for, it was, lights out, Mike Curtis would grab the bed and sleep like this for 8 hours. And he was like tensed up and gritting his teeth. And he would wake up in the morning furious. It's just like, that's the idea of like sleeping so ferociously. It's just awesome.
It's like, I have to do this.
Sleep. Mike Curtis was the ultimate warrior before there was one.
Sleep into submission.
Submission.
Yeah.
Oh man, speaking of which, it'd be awesome to take that clip of Mike Curtis up into that guy and put it to the Ultimate Warrior entrance music.
Damn.
Yeah, it would totally work.
Oh.
Seriously. We'd probably actually superimpose the Ultimate Warrior doing clotheslines over it. The video warrior comes out and clotheslines again and runs off doing this.
You had the Thunderdome going down, and you had DC under the Fandome. There was everything's a dome now.
So many domes, yeah, man.
So what's up with all these domes?
I think it's the COVID bubble we're all supposed to move into. But I'm with you on the DC Fandome thing, man. I'm like, okay,
Cool.
all right. And then when I realized that basically it was all about one thing, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then I watched the one thing, and we will discuss it now. Or at least, I guess I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say it was based on one thing. What I should say is the truth, and the truth of it is, I only know of one thing that came out of it.
The kick things off pretty hardcore with the Wonder Woman trailer. That I was like, man, when it comes to the movies, if it says DC, it's kind of like count me out unless it's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Involved. I'm like, okay, I'll check that out.
It's strange. I still haven't seen it because I'm stupid. But I think the preview that I saw for Wonder Woman 1984 or whatever it's called, it was cool, man. And I mean, the first one seemed cool. It's just I just haven't watched it yet. I can't tell you why.
It really. One of the things I think that hurt, and I had this discussion with somebody else recently, one that's kind of fresh in my mind. I think one of the things that hurt Captain Marvel was it followed Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman, the one thing that I think some people will actually give you the honest reviews, like the first 3/4 of it are really, really good. But it has that thing when it gets to the last boss fight, and it's just really kind of convoluted with there's all these red herrings with the big bad at the end, and with what you finally get, you're kind of like, it's kind of it's a little bit of a downer at the end, but up until then, it's like, man, this is really, really good. But
that's Wonder Woman, you say?
Yeah, that's kind of par for the course of DC in the first place.
That's what I'd always heard about Wonder Woman, was that it's like 3/4 really good movie, and the final act is this junky, clunky mess. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you mean the parts that Joss Whedon wrote are real good, and the crap you have to stick on at the end, because I'm Zack Snyder and I oversee all these, that's the part that sucks, right? And then whenever you say that to people, they're like, yeah, I think that's right. Because it's like, look, I mean, the dialogue and the relationships are so good and believable. I'm like, yeah, the Joss Whedon part. Watch a season of Buffy. You'll see what I'm talking about, man. It's like, dude, you can totally tell the Whedon stuff. Joss Whedon didn't have anything to do with Wonder Woman. Yes, he did. He wrote the entire movie and got fired because he thought the idea of the strongest woman in the universe wearing a skirt was stupid. Because DC execs wanted the upskirts, and that's literally what got him fired. That's it. And this was years before they actually shot the movie. But, hey, man, they owned it. So it's not like they were going to get rid of the script. And then they brought him in and let him write Justice League, too. And I still haven't seen that, though. I've seen the one exceptional scene out of Justice League where basically Superman comes back to life and eyeballs the Flash, which is so cool. And I'm like, yep, I guarantee you Josh wrote that, because he gets it. He can make cool characters cool. Ask Hulk fans. I've heard Hulk fans say, man, Hulk has just been such an afterthought in this series. I'm like, yeah, since the first Avengers, because Whedon wrote it, and the whole thing was a big green Valentine. And it's like, dude, he knows what to do with those characters, man.
Yeah. But that's what a little bit I heard of coming out of the Fandome is the Wonder Woman stuff, and I was like, well, I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, I'm with you. The last preview I saw for it looked real cool, and I'm like, all right, this is good. I think we might have addressed this before, but I still like it, so we'll do it again. the fact that DC executives, you can tell by the last preview I saw for that movie, DC execs are so tired of people belly aching about Chris Pine showing back up. They're like, we'll explain it to you in the preview. Shut up. So they do. They totally not expose, but they give you the story. And I'm like, that was a very good decision. That was a very good decision.
He's still around, so shut up.
Shut up. Jeez. But the other thing that I remembered, I haven't seen the new one, but what I remember about the other one was that I love the costume because it's so bright, and it just made me think of the stuff from when I was a kid, like the George Perez stuff. Like, man, that's cool looking. So, but that's cool. I hadn't heard that. The only thing I heard was the Batman. The preview for the Batman came out, and I watched it. And one thing about it I really, really liked. One thing about it left me with an impression that I like. Actually, that's not fair. Two things about it I really liked, and then there was an impression. I don't know if this is what they're doing, but it's what I was left to believe, and I liked it too. The first thing that I like about it is I come so close to saying Jeffrey Rush all the time, and I'm pretty sure it's Jeffrey Wright. It might not be, but I think it's Jeffrey Wright. It seems to me that he's playing Commissioner Gordon. So that puts me in the same headspace as with the last ones with Chris Nolan, where, man, if you've got the intellect to hire Gary Sid Vicious Oldman to play Commissioner Gordon, that means you take Gordon seriously and you get it. You really understand what an important part of that story he is. So if you can get Jeffrey Wright to do it, go on, brother. It's either Jeffrey Wright or the guy from The Last Les Miserables. I'm pretty sure it's Jeffrey Wright. And he's a hell of an actor, so good decision.
I think it's Westworld Jerry Wright.
You know what? I think so, because I think that's what my friends were saying.
On that show. Yeah.
I think my buds that I watched the preview with, I think that's what they were saying. Like, oh, okay, cool, man.
That sounds like a good idea.
Oh, yeah. It's like, okay, I like this guy. I'm glad you're taking Gordon seriously. That's cool. Second thing, what was the other thing that I liked about it? This is just more like personal bias stuff, but I'm very much in the corner of, and I think we've talked about Kristen Stewart before, where basically because of all the crap that she got for playing Bella, and clearly pulling a Titanic to just, okay, I'm doing this junk and I'm getting the paychecks for 6 of these things, 7 maybe. I think they did. No, it wasn't 6. I think it was 5. It was 3 and then 2 for the last one, I think. A huge
they followed the model of got to split the last one into 2.
Oh, yes.
People will do that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that eventually people will change the opinion, because that was my thing with Harry Potter. If any of those books, once you get past the 4th one, does not need 2, it's 7, because the 7th book is boring as hell. It just is, man. But if you would have split, 4 is my favorite, but they actually did a good job with that movie. 5's the one that needs 2 movies. There's nothing in 5 that you should cut out. That's an important book, man. So anyway, and really, if they were really going to do it right, 5 and 6 would have been 2, and then you would have had, 8 movies, and it's like, oh my God, no, it would have been, all right, 7.
10 or something. But
no, it would have been 7. No, it is 7. It would have been 9. If you did it that way, you'd have had 9. It was like, we were the Avengers first, jerks. Anyway, I got sidetracked. I'm sorry. But the way I feel about Kristen Stewart and why I like her, well, one of the reasons I like her is so many of the decisions she makes for the stuff that she wants to be in. These are movies I really like. So I'm happy that she was able to do that. I'm pulling for Robert Pattinson in the exact same way for the same reason. So I'm like, all right, man, cool. This is good. I'll save the impression thing for a second. It just seems like more of the same of like, you thought Batman was bleak before? You should have shut up. I mean, it's just like, it's so over the top bleak. Like, that's all right. I mean, it's fine. But the impression that I was left with, very early in the preview, you finds a green envelope, and you just got this voiceover of this guy asking all these open-ended questions. And I'm like, thank God. Thank God. I did not think they'd be stupid enough to do Joker out the chute. That's no one's ever going to do that again. Thank God. Yeah. Good decision. But man, if you were going to start with the Riddler, that's great. I love that idea. And I don't know if it's what they're doing or not, because I haven't read anything about it, but I hope that's what they're doing, because that's cool.
The rumors I've heard, and this may have been confirmed with Fandome, is not only is it Riddler, it's more Long Halloween based, and it's being played by Paul Dano.
Oh, that's fantastic. That would be fantastic, man. Both of those things, because I really like that dude. So I'm totally with you. But yeah, man, Long Halloween. Oh my God, it's tricky because I love Year One too. But man, Long Halloween is on that short list of contenders of best Batman story I've ever read, which ain't a bunch of them to be honest. But I love Dark Knight Returns. I love Year One, but Long Halloween was one that I read and was like, oh my God. And then I guess it was probably over a year later, I'm like, was that as good as I remembered? And read it again, and it was even better than I remembered. I'm like, oh my God, it's so awesome.
It felt like the Christopher Nolan stuff was kind of hinting at going that route, but they never truly did. But that's good. That leaves it open for somebody else to do it.
Heck yeah, man. That would be really fantastic. I love it, man.
Yeah. And the other cool thing that I did kind of hear that came out, I haven't watched the video yet. I just heard people talking about they're doing the panel essentially for Wonder Woman. And for some, I don't know if she has anything to do with the movie or if they're just going to leave it. But they brought Linda Carter up on the screen. And they bring Linda Carter up, and Kristen Wiig freaks out. So it was like, yeah. So I have no idea what that's going to lead to, or if it will just be like, hey, remember this? Remember this? And they just kind of did it. But I did hear that happen, so I was glad to hear that.
Oh, yes. I'm totally with you, man. If it turns into what you and I talked about of, by God,
we're going to have multiverses.
Yes, I'm great with that. But even if they don't, hey, man, just doing it is awesome. I totally agree with you, man. That's real cool.
Cool.
But, oh, my God, the multiverse. Because that's my thing, man. They were talking, my buddy Aaron was telling me that there was more talk about the Flash movie. And I was like, who's playing the Flash in the movie? And so he looked it up, and he was like, Ezra Miller. I'm like, okay, cool, that's the Justice League guy. I said, I really was just seeing if it was Justice League guy, TV guy, or somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's cool either way. But I'm like, yes, let's do it. Let's do it. But I just love the idea of holograms of all the ex-DC actors being in the same place. Oh, man.
Yeah,
man. That's so awesome.
That's was this so good news to hear. And there was some stuff that came out about, I think, that the Suicide Squad movie trailer got played, and I was like, I still don't understand why the Suicide Squad is not a TV show, but they're doing movies with it, so I was like, whatever. But the one thing and about that one too that makes me think like maybe I need to check this one out is if anybody can make that good, James Gunn can, and it's his movie, and you can definitely feel a lot of the James Gunn, I don't know, feel to the trailer. So I haven't watched that yet either, but enough people were going on about it. Like, well, maybe I'll check that one out too. So maybe I'll start watching DC movies again.
Yeah, that is cool that they got that guy because, man, that's the guy behind my favorite crap in Marvel, man. So I'm still not sure I care enough to watch Suicide Squad, but that's great news, man. It's good. I guess my thing with Suicide Squad is on my buds about it. You can check that out. I'm like, probably not, but I don't need to because they've shown you twice now, 2 times. And to be fair, the second time is really not fair because I think this was one of the early COVID victims as far as movies go. But if your credits include the line, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, it won't matter how much money it makes. The studio's going to greenlight that no matter what. They don't care. They've shown to you that results don't mean anything because Suicide Squad was vehemently hated. Birds of Prey, I heard a couple of critics that liked it. I didn't hear any fans that liked it, but again, to be totally fair to that one, I don't know how many people got to see that. So there might not be a huge sample size of fans to even tell you if it was good or not. So that might not be on them.
Just the title alone, this crazy amount of words and throwing Harley Quinn's name in, like, oh, so this isn't really Birds of Prey.
No.
Is it?
No. It's the Harley Quinn solo movie. I understand the name of it, and it's a good idea because, like I said, man, the whole problem with Harley Quinn is that character is so linked to the Joker that, okay, no, we're gonna separate that character from the Joker, and it's like, that's necessary. Good on y'all for doing it. That's great. But yeah, it's a little wordy. But I'm with you. It's like that's not Birds of Prey. It's Harley Quinn 2. It's like, remember when they made Deadpool 2, but they called it Deadpool 2 and not X-Force? There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. It's stupid. It's nowhere near as good, but it's like that's what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like if well, I don't know. I was gonna say it's kind of like maybe it's the opposite. You call it Birds of Prey, and it's really a solo story. It's the opposite of Captain America 3, which really should have been Avengers 2.5. It's not like this isn't a cat movie, man. Come on, you got the whole freaking cast, dude.
You had Ewan McGregor cast as the villain playing Black Mask, and I still was like, I'll pass. No thanks.
I am glad that guy's doing stuff again now. I thought it was real cute. I think I've probably mentioned it on here before, but the last time I really heard Ewan McGregor talked about was people being all upset that, well, I don't know why he's got to be the white savior in the Miles Davis movie. This isn't even a real person, man. It's like, clearly you didn't watch that movie. You really, first of all, if you think that character's a white savior, you really missed the point. And as far as that character not being real, oh, you poor thing. Because it's like, if you watched that movie and you didn't get it, okay, maybe you didn't get it, but boy, howdy, if you didn't, I hope you didn't open your... I'm hoping that hopefully it's somebody that just didn't watch it. Wanted to talk like they had seen it. Wanted to talk like they had an opinion. But oh my God, if you watched it and so, yeah, man, that wasn't even a real guy. It wasn't even a real character. Nothing in that movie is real. That's the entire point, is Don Cheadle. I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but it's one of my favorite accomplishments in any movie in recent history. Don Cheadle literally did a cinematic Valentine to Miles Davis about spontaneous creativity, and that's it. It starred a character named Miles Davis. Absolutely nothing in it was biographical. Nothing. He wasn't trying to tell you the Miles Davis story. He wasn't trying to tell you about some reporter that wanted to interview him. None of that was real. None of it. Yeah. Literally, the movie starts with Miles in a radio interview, just talking with a guy. And he's talking to the guy, and it's all good. And then it goes into this crazy story. And you watch the whole story, and it's all good. And at the I think I told you, I'm sure if I'm ruining this, I apologize, but I'm sure I told you, man, that's it. They're doing this radio interview, and the guy asks him, like, so Miles, tell me, what's jazz to you? And he's like, what's jazz? And he's like, well, and he's got his little horn, and he's sitting there playing around with the keys. And he's like, well, it's kind of like, and he picks his horn up, and the camera, like, zooms inside of it. And then we're to the next day or the next whatever. And it's this crazy story about Miles trying to get his master tapes back from the studio, and this crazy reporter that wants to do an interview with him, and all this stuff, and la-di-da and woohoo. And at the very end, you have this huge, like, crazy action scene, la-di-da, and then all of a sudden the camera zips back out of the trumpet, and Miles says it's kind of like that. And then he stands up and leaves, and the guy's like, wait a minute, is the interview over? And the guy talking to him is Ewan McGregor. So, see, Ewan McGregor was a DJ the whole time, not the guy in the story. I can't believe people didn't, I shouldn't say I can't believe they didn't get it, but don't complain about it. Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, this guy wasn't even a real character. No shit. there were very few people who's even named. There were few names in that movie that are even real. Nothing in the movie really happened. That's what was so cool about it. I love it. That's the neatest thing in the world to make, instead of making a biopic, making a tribute movie. God dang, that's cool. It was so cool. I loved it. I loved that movie, man. For Don especially, because God, he worked so hard to get it done. I mean, that was the Netflix original before there was one, because he just busted his ass to get that money raised, because nobody wanted to make it, and it was all like, he did it. I love it. I really wish it got more notoriety, but it won't. It will not get notoriety. Netflix gets notoriety because people inside the industry realize that's the next thing. We have to get on board with this, because if we don't, we won't have jobs. But Hollywood guys self-producing, that was a no-no at the time. But I'm sorry to get off on that, but that's a great movie. Miles Ahead is what that movie's called, if y'all are interested in watching. Now that I've ruined it for you, go out and watch it.
Yeah, man.
It's amazing, man.
Heck yeah. That's kind of where I was at with I finally got around to watching Bohemian Rhapsody, and with all the bitching and moaning that people did about some of the inaccuracies in that, it's like, still pretty damn good.
I completely agree. Bohemian Rhapsody, Rocket Man. I loved both of those movies because primarily I'm not watching a documentary. I've already seen those. I like Queen. I like Freddie. I like Elton. If I want to know the story, I'll watch the documentary. If I want to watch the movie, I'll watch the movie. It's all good. It's almost like Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga didn't write those songs. It's like, dude, it's a movie, man. Bohemian Rhapsody was fantastic. I loved it. I thought it was great, man.
There's a lot that has to be done to kind of make the movie work. And if you tell what legit straight up happened, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. I guess is how they felt.
And what frustrates me is that has been Hollywood's MO since Hollywood became a thing. I don't know why people think that here's the thing. If you want to get bent out of shape about the Freddie Mercury movie, man, don't ever, and I mean ever, do research into the life of Aaron Brockovich. Because, wow, you don't want to know how different that movie was from the way it really went down. Hurricane Carter's the same way. Biopics in general, man, I don't know why people think they have to be documentaries, because they ain't never been that.
Yeah.
Prince's real name is Prince. It's not the Kid. And his dad didn't have a secret store of songs that he found after a suicide attempt. What? Wendy and Lisa didn't write Purple and Rain? Fuck you, you liar.
Gonna get a little butt hurt.
Morris Day didn't have Jerome throw women into trash cans? The movie's life. It's a documentary. Purple Rain's real.
Real. Chris Hemsworth's gonna star in the Hulk Hogan movie, and this is gonna be totally accurate. Everything just on the level.
Yeah, especially considering Hulk signed off on it. You better believe it's all gonna be gospel truth, brother.
Oh. Me and Randy were just brothers.
Love Randy. I love that boy.
Show some love, Randy.
Me and Randy were the goodest of good brothers, brother.
Good brother and all up and down the road, brother. And it up, brother.
Good brother. Up and down the road. I absolutely love how often that expression is used in old school wrestling stories, man.
Randy came up with the rip 'em.
God, that movie is the biggest smile. I mean, it was. I was telling Darren earlier, that idiot that I am, glutton for punishment that I am. I went and watched No Holds Barred clips on.
Why?
Yeah, I'd seriously, because I'm like, it can't be as bad as it's worse. It's worse. The complete opposite of Long Halloween. It's like, man, it can't be as bad as I remember. God, I don't remember how bad this was. There were a couple of comments that I absolutely loved. One of them is only funny if you read it, because then you can hear it in your head. So I won't mess with that one. But there was another one that was just something so disappointed in the way the guy worded it. It was so funny, man. But it's just this picture of this dude, and I would judge by the picture he's about our age, so it makes sense. His review of No Holds Barred is like, I can't believe I begged my father to take me to see this. I love it. As he's gotten older, he's so disappointed in himself. It's like, I can't believe I asked my father to take me to see this. No wonder he slept the whole time. Like, dude, that is awesome. I love that comment, man.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry, Pop.
I don't recall my mom and dad ever making it through a movie that they even slept through Beetlejuice. It's like, this is cinematic art we're watching.
When's the last time
you can't make it through Beetlejuice or Roger Rabbit? Dude, you have no taste.
When's the last time you watched Beetlejuice?
It's been a few years ago, but it's one of those that I remember going back and revisiting. Like, this is bleak as hell.
I got a weird Jones for Beetlejuice maybe last year. I hadn't seen it in a long time either. Man, that sucker holds up. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I'm like, I remember liking this because it's cool, and I was this is neat. And I watch it now, and I'm like, this is just awesome. It's just, I love it. It's awesome, man. I still prefer Edward. If we're comparing, I mean, it's hard. Tim Burton's hard because there's a lot of his stuff I like, man. So there's not like one definitive favorite. But of the huge ones from when we were younger, man, Edward's probably always going to be my favorite. But man, I love me some Beetlejuice, man. It was cool.
Yeah. And that's another one too. The more I hear about the sequel, the more I'm just like, man, let me just have the one.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that. Like that's my thing with. I keep seeing commercials for Bill and Ted, and I'm like, man, I hope there's something in there that's real magical, but I don't think I'm gonna find out. If somebody tells me after the fact, maybe I'll look at it. But it's like I just don't think I'm supposed to see that one. That's all right. I'm totally with you. It's like that's okay if you see the one. It's okay. You can go Infinity War. And that's not a knock on Endgame. It's just that Infinity War was. I love that as your optional ending.
Yeah,
I love it.
If you so choose to not go on to the next chapter and or spin back to page 47 or whatever it is, you don't have to.
Seriously, I'm very much with you. I love when stuff is clever enough to do that. It's awesome.
choose your own adventure or have it end here.
Every book is a choose your own adventure book if you've got the stones.
No, I think it ends here.
Yeah, nope, that's it. That's the end right there, man. Yoder lives forever.
I still think that the perfect reboot of No Holds Barred is to have Shawn Michaels show up and be Debo's manager. They both have the crazy eye go. If Randy hadn't fixed it when he kicked him the other night, they could do
that. I think the perfect reboot to No Holds Barred is actually what they were doing on Raw for a couple of weeks. And like I said, that was great. That I guess that's what got it in my mind was freaking Travis Heckle and his hilarious drawing. But like I love to comment about Brell being the executive of AEW and Raw becoming Battle of the Tough Guys, but somehow worse. This is awful, man. I shouldn't say it's awful because I haven't seen a second of it. It's just hearing the discomfort of people that have watched it. I'm like, God dang, I'm feeling bad for y'all, man.
It's like I would just believe that if there was something worth checking it out in a review, I would feel that, and I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like, and it's something that's kind of messed me up with listening to Marty and Sarah. Only in this regard, I really like listening to them. I enjoy that show. But they're usually pretty up about most things. So if Marty and Sarah ain't got nothing nice to say about it, I'm wondering if there's anything nice that you can say about it because they're good. They're good fans, man. So I'm like, oh, geez, man.
Yeah, it ain't there, and I'll just wishing and hoping and praying that somebody takes over when it gets given to Shane. You're like, great. Exactly what we were complaining about this time last year. You're going to bring back. It's like, oh my God.
Dude, seriously, it's like whatever, man. And on that subject, the one thing that I heard from SummerSlam is that other thing that you was talking about at the beginning of the show, that apparently Braun loses the title to the Fiend.
Yeah.
And then we decide not only do we need to feed the Fiend to Roman, but heel Roman. And it's like, okay, so you're telling me the only point, probably in the last 2 years, that people don't want to see Roman Reigns as a heel, that's when you decide to make him a heel. Why? Why would you do that now? I know the answer. I'm not even asking like hypothetically. I know exactly why. Let me tell you why. And here comes the soapbox, because this is me getting pissed about something that just drives me up the damn wall.
All right.
People talk all the time about keep your politics out of my sports. I don't need no AEW hand-holding about tolerance and acceptance in my wrestling. Basically what you're saying is nothing to the left. I don't want to hear anything to the left in my politics, because when Vince does his right-wing warmongering, we love that, and that is exactly what this is, because Roman Reigns is the face of, I got to protect myself from this thing because I've got a family and I'm worried about them. Versus Vince, my buddy's in the White House and he says it's not real, so it's not real. So you think it's real? You're the bad guy. That's why Roman Reigns is the heel. And that is the most pathetic shit I can think of. It's hard. It's hard for Vince to bottom out. But that is pathetic, man.
Yeah.
Pathetic. You want to make a political statement about this right now. he's such a buffoon, man. Buffoon's really the wrong word because Vince actually has some intellect, but people will take shots at Trump, and they're right to do so for how much money that Papa gave him. It's not like Vince didn't inherit his company. Now, what he turned it into, that's him. But again, it's got nothing.
He had a big leg up and a foot in the door.
No kidding.
Nobody in the history of the world has had.
Exactly, and that's the point, especially about that particular business, because what Vince is good at is not wrestling. New York wrestling has always sucked. It's not my style. I don't like it, and that's before he got there. But Vince was the one that was like, if I go to the cable companies and I offer them money, I can buy them out of their contracts, and that's what we're going to do. Where do you think he got that money? You know what I'm saying? And that's the point, is he used Papa's inheritance to basically strong arm's not the right word. It's just, hey guys, it's just business, because with the TV executives, that was the game he knew how to play. It's why it worked in 1985. And for some reason, Vince decided he was a genius and that he could do it now. And it's like, well, why Vince looks really old these days? Why does Vince look so old? Because Fox has their hand all the way up his ass. He is their puppet. You got to go, Vince is the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. As soon as he signed that SmackDown deal, Fox is like, A, B, C, D. There's a reason Shane McMahon is on the cable show. There's a reason Bray Wyatt is on the network show, because as soon as the executives, it's totally what you were talking about with Eric Bischoff. They got one look at Bischoff and said, you can show him the door, because if you don't show him the door, we'll show him the window. You're right. They smelled that. They smelled the stink coming off of him before he got off the elevator. Yeah. And it's the same thing with Bray Wyatt. It's like, I appreciate that you think bodybuilders and blondes with silicone are the only thing that works. We're in television, baby. We'll tell you what works. And as soon as they saw The Fiend, they're like, and that's how he wound up on that show. Because there's no way Vince would have picked him as his guy. No way. And Fox said, we're picking him as our guy. You can sit down now, old man. And that's why he looks so old. Because he ain't running that company no more, man. It's like, oh, man, you thought having shareholders was a pain in the butt. Now you have handlers, brother. And handlers from the inside, as their hand is up your butt and you are their puppet. I love that part of this story. But it's like, seriously, you want to make Roman Reigns a heel now in the only time that people probably would have been okay with him. He's such an idiot, man. And that's what the people that are legit, when they say, I don't want politics in my sports, that's what they're talking about, because there ain't no agenda there. They don't like all the that's not what they watch for. The escapism is what people like. A lot of people like. People watching wrestling or sports for escapism, they don't want all that stuff. Well, the ratings for the NBA are way down. Do you think it's the protesting? Well, it's probably the fact that it's on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon every day. But yeah, some people are definitely going to turn off because of all the protest, the stuff on the back of the jerseys, the stuff on the court. But that was a decision the NBA made. They made that decision. They told you that decision. If you want to turn it off, that's fine. But Vince, on the other hand, wants to go on and on and on about, oh, no politics. I can't do politics. No politics. But now you want to make your heel the anti-COVID guy. Fuck you, man. I'm so glad. I'm thrilled that I'm not sitting here saying, well, this is the end for me in WWE, because that came a long ass time ago, man. I haven't watched this crap in forever, and every single time anything makes its way to my ears, despite the fact that their roster is chock full of people that I love and have seen a lot of enjoyable work from, I'm like, man, I will never miss this. I will never miss this. Bye. And I'm pissed about Keith Lee too, damn it, because that could have been really, really cool. And it's like, knowing you ain't going to do nothing with that man. Son-in-law had big plans for that guy, but you gotta come up and you gotta wrestle Randy, but you gotta cover up that belly first, buddy. Look at that, go hang out with Nakamura. He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot. But the idea, and it's the whole thing where he wants to do the Black Power faction, but I guess now instead you want to take the hottest black wrestler in the business in a long, long time and feed him to Randy. You know, Randy, the Twitch N-word guy. Vince is precious. It's like, Jesus Christ, man.
Heck yeah.
I've emptied this. I gotta stop trying this. I keep thinking that the water's gonna magically replenish.
One more drop.
It'll be back if I want it bad enough.
Come to me, water friend.
Water friend.
man, that's pretty much what's up, man.
Man, there was something else. I don't remember what the heck it was, man. Shoot, I don't know what it was. There's a video game documentary on Netflix right now called High Score. It's definitely worth checking out. It's fascinating, especially for the history, like the far, far back history of video games. And there's the main thing that I will say about it, and I promise this is a very cool thing that won't ruin nothing. But fortunately for myself and anybody that's really interested in video games, it is a great thing that so many people from back in the day that designed, like, there's some really iconic stuff here. Everybody kept their sketchbooks, man. Oh my God, when the designers sit down and bust open like their drawings, and it's real cool. My friend, I was watching it. My buddy Danielle, who knows these things, because Danielle works in computers, man, so she knows it and she recognizes it. And she was explaining to me they're going through, and a lot of it is like character sketches. But every now and again, man, you'll like see this. There's like a cube and it's got words in it. Arrows coming off of it, circle, arrow here, arrow here. And she's explaining to me that like that is coding. When you are taught coding in school, that's literally how you start. It's like that's the rudimentary design of a code, and then you go and write it. But this is how you do it. This is from the 70s, man, and it's awesome that he still got that. It's like, oh my, I was freaking out, man. It was so cool, and it's not just him. There's so many people they sit down and talk to about like character design and whatnot. It was just fascinating. I loved it, man. But High Score, I haven't seen all of it yet, but the first 3 parts are totally worth it. There's another movie on there that I watched that's called Freak Show, and it's about this kid. I don't remember the name of the actor for nothing. I should know who the heck he is, but it turns out, sorry, that this movie was directed by Trudy. I think it's Trudy Schuyler. I think is her name. The lady that, if you've ever seen Sting and his family,
yeah,
I don't think they're married, but Sting's partner is what I should say. And I was like, okay, cool, man, this is groovy. And I will tell you this, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was quite good. Sorry, I finally got that to move, so now I can talk. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was quite good. But if you just watch probably about the first half hour of the movie, or fast forward to, I can't tell you where to go to, but I should have the timestamp. I'm sorry I don't. But there's one scene in that movie that is worth watching if you watch nothing else. And the scene's a bummer. The way it ends sucks. So if you want to cut it off, it's no problem. But man, this kid, he is this flamboyantly out gay kid. So I figured this thing just got made because, I mean, I hate to say that gay cinema is trendy now, but it is. I mean, it is. But this thing is 2 years old. And I'm like, all right, well, good for you for getting there first. Okay. Or getting there early anyway. So this kid is primarily raised by his mom, and then they get split up, and he goes and lives with his dad. And I don't think they really explain where they are, but it's mentioned as Red State. So if they're trying to, like, basically the housekeeper is a very guardian angel character, and she's trying to help him out because, again, he's just very expressive in his dress, and she's trying to help him out. So he goes to school on the first day dressed as Boy George. He keeps going back to school in just more and more elaborately flamboyant and outfits, and people hate him for it, give him crap for it, and la-di-da. So ultimately he decides to go to school in his ultimate suit of armor as basically a gigantic you to all the people that don't like him. And in that scene, man, there's a song that I don't want to say it wrong. I've said it wrong all weekend. It's a performer who performs under the name Perfume Genius. I've been saying Champagne Genius for 2 days. Perfume Genius. And the song is called Queen. It's a cool song anyway, but man, the way that song is used in that movie and the scene that it is used, combined with the decision to shoot it in slow motion, that's my thing. Like, good on Trudy, man. I don't know if she like choreographs or has done movies or visual arts before, but man, she's got a feel for it.
Yeah.
But it's a scene of that kid, and I don't want to ruin it, man, but in that particular scene, just the costuming. Remember we talked about Abaddon, the wrestler, and how I can't believe that that's real? I mean, it's just the makeup is so elaborate, and it's just so, It's like, this is unbelievable, man. That's somebody like on TV doing that. If it was an anime character, I'd believe it. But it's like nobody drew that. Oh my God, same vibe. I'm sorry to be so vague, but it's about half an hour in, and it's the kid walking down the hallway into school. It's unbelievable. I was absolutely kicked in the chest by that scene. I love when that happens. I like, even if it's just one little scene in a movie, when anything hits you that hard, I love it. I loved it, man. I can't explain why. Just the visual, the song is a big part of it, but the visual, it looks like an anime character. Honest to God, you'll think you're at like a cosplay convention. It's just awesome. Like, oh my God, I'm glad I watched this.
That's on Netflix.
Yeah, that one's called oh shoot, I think it's Freak Show.
Okay.
And I'm really, I can't believe I can't think of that kid's name, because he's been in several things since, and he's quite good. But Bette Midler's in it, and shoot, seems like there's some other huge name that John McEnroe's in it.
Oh yes.
Oh man,
I'm there.
dude, seriously, if somebody put together a John McEnroe film fest, it really is shocking how much quality you would get with watching it. It's like, man, this guy's in great stuff, man.
That I am.
You know about getting in trouble, don't you, Johnny? That I do. Oh yeah, him jumping over the limousine and Mr. D is totally getting in the film festival.
Man, the only other story I saw that was kind of remotely interesting this weekend, I was watching the Braves game the other night, and there was a story that kept going across the bottom of the screen about this Mike Trout baseball card that sold for this ungodly amount of money. And all I could think was like, oh, Todd McFarlane's buying baseball shit again.
Oh, seriously. The DC figures were a hit. Todd's back in the baseball business. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Todd and his baseballs. There was this Mike Trout rookie card, and it's one of those kind of things. It just made me think, like, people that buy issue number ones of a certain book, and like, y'all, it's never going to happen again with a major company. You're not going to get a Action Comics number 1 or 27 ever again, because they didn't print a million of them back in the day. The only way it's going to happen is like an indie promotion doing like a Walking Dead or a Ninja Turtles, where they only print 800 of the first run. Then you have a shot of having a $2,000 or $3,000 book. This Mike Trout Bowman card sold for $3.9 million. And the thing about it too is, it makes you kind of wonder, like, just because something sells at auction for this amount of money, don't necessarily mean it's worth that. It's just you've got a sucker that was willing to pay you for it.
It's the thing that frustrates me about that is, and this happens a lot, and people say it a lot, and I agree. And people, of course, attribute the quote to Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan said everything first all the time. And this is really an old sports cliche, but Jordan, to be fair to him, did say it. And he was talking about winning the championship in '92, and how the one in '92 was more meaningful and more enjoyable than the one in '91, because the first one is the first one, but you ain't a champ till you defend it. It's that old boxing adage, and people give the credit to Jordan, but it's a boxing adage. People have said that for years, that a world champion is not considered a world champion until they defend it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same exact thing. It's not worth 3.9 because you paid that for it. It's worth whatever the next guy's going to give you for it.
Yeah,
that's it. You got to have somebody else that wants it that bad. So that's that.
To this guy's credit, I mean, it beat the record of the Honus Wagner card at auction. And to this guy's credit, when he bought it for $400,000. So he did, almost triple his money. But at the same time, it just that's all I could think of with the stories. Like, is it really worth that? Or you just found somebody that would give you that for it? So that was the other news story that I thought was kind of funky this past week that came to mind for some reason, talking about old documentaries about video games.
Yeah, man. Wagner's interesting because it's like you're talking about, man. The Wagner card, there's two of them. Honus Wagner was a great baseball player, but the reason it's worth what it's worth is because there's two of them.
Yeah.
If you want to pretend that Mike Trout's the greatest player of all time now because he had the most expensive card ever, cool. But
Mm-hmm.
all right. And I like Mike. I like Mike a bunch, but Mike Trout, in my opinion, has an awful lot of Ted Williams on him, where it's just, don't give me the argument that, oh, what's he done in the postseason if you're not going to do it for everybody. Yeah. It's either a measure or it's not. And I don't care myself. I love Mike Trout. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a great player. I just don't want to hear, well, LeBron's 3-6. If we're going to say Trout's the best baseball player of all time, hell with Trout. If we're going to say Ted Williams is the best hitter of all time, Ted Williams played in one World Series and hit 200. I'm going to say it every week on this show until it's common knowledge because no one ever brings it up. When do you think I found out? About 2 years ago when I looked it up because nobody talks about it. I'm like, oh, that's just precious, isn't it?
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, man. Speaking of which, I was watching LeBron and them earlier, man, and they looked like they were well on their way to getting 3-1 tonight. I didn't see, like, I got to about halftime, but they had like 74 points at halftime. Like, jeez, man. And to be honest, we talked about this a bunch because I like the Lakers. I think I've told the people before, but it's another catchphrase. Every time it's somebody's first time, I hope. I love the Lakers, man. That's the team that I cut my teeth on. 87 finals was the first thing I ever saw. So I like LA. It's fun to pull for them. But as far as, how the other half live, what it must be like to be a Yankees fan. I know what it's like to be a Yankees fan because I'm a Lakers fan. And what that means is you have a lot of highs, you have a lot of hangers on. And oh yeah, whether you like it or not, we get a hell of a lot of calls, man. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of jaw jacking from Portland in the first quarter because it just seemed like every time they blinked, somebody was on the stripe shooting free throw, and they're not wrong, man. It did. It had a stink to it. I love my Lakers, but man, let's be objective, man. Let's be honest. I really enjoy the Lakers. They're not one of my teams I can't be objective about. I have some teams that I love so much that it's like, no, man, a real opinion? Don't ask me. So I can't do it. But they're not one of them. Yeah, for me, oh no, I'm completely right. We're always the victim. But they're not one of them, man. It's like, man, the Lakers got it's biased, it's rigged, and yeah, it probably is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right.
It's the first round, so
yeah, well, sorry. The thing, that's
we're
the thing.
We're getting that call, brother.
Yeah, it's always rigged when it's the Lakers. It's never rigged. It's always rigged when it's the Yankees. It's never rigged when it's the Red Sox. And I'm like, yo, it's always rigged all the time.
Yeah.
So, what are you talking about? No, man. Red Sox came back from 3-0 down. It was real, man. Okay.
On to that, dude.
Oh, God, it makes people more angry if you let it go. Like, that's cool, man. No, fuck you, argue with me. And my cousin was like that at Thanksgiving.
I'll fight you right now.
Dude, my cousin was like that at Thanksgiving because I was just trying to explain why college football doesn't do it for me anymore. And I'm like, man, when you look at the betting lines and see how much money is changing hands, there is no, like, smart people that have enough money to own a television studio are smart enough to rig the outcome of something they could make a lot of money on. So like, no, man, it's like, look, I know you want to think everything Ohio State's ever done has come to them through merit, but sports aren't like that anymore. Hollywood's the biggest industry in the history of the country, man. They ain't never taken a bailout from anybody, have they? So by all means, take your notes from them. But Hollywood makes a lot of money because they write the ending before they start shooting most of the time. Sometimes they don't. And you wind up with Wonder Woman.
And in a roundabout way, we kind of start. Sometimes it's good to start with the ending and work your way backwards. Sometimes not.
Yeah, man. It's that was always Christie's recipe for writing mysteries, and it was like, she's absolutely right. And there are a couple of movies I've seen where you can tell they didn't start with the end, and it shows. I give you a perfect example, man. Like it fits the actual mold, the absolute mold of what we said earlier with Wonder Woman. Is God, what was it called? Edge of Tomorrow. That movie got so confusing because it was Live, Die, Repeat. Edge of Tomorrow, and it was like, okay, Live, Die, Repeat is bigger on the poster. What is this movie called? But Edge of Tomorrow was like that. But I personally think the thing that happened with Edge of Tomorrow, it's just my opinion, but honestly, the first 3 acts of that movie are so good. The first two acts of that movie are so good, you can end it. There's no way to make the third one live up because, man, that thing is slamming cool great. So it's not it's nobody's fault. Well, it's kind of disappointing at the end. I'm like, there's no way. I know myself well enough to know that I enjoyed the first two parts so much that it's like, hey man, it ended. That's totally fine because holy crap, that first hour and 10, it's great, man.
Let me up, Tom.
Oh God, that movie, it's great. And I'm like, oh, this is fantastic.
Cool. Heck yeah, man.
I mean, I think that's it, dude. I really should start making notes, but the hell with that, man. It's more fun to just get on here and good brother it up with the good brother.
Shoot that bull mask, man.
Man.
Put me a bit on this Mike Trout.
2 seconds. I'm sorry. I thought of one more thing I want to discuss. I know that we're all supposed to be pulling our hair out or jumping off bridges or punching ourselves in the face because, man, the Hawks got jobbed in the lottery. Well, welcome to Atlanta. We always do. But I got to tell you, man, there's more than 6 good players in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of guys. I'm not sure who people wanted. I guess people wanted Anthony Edwards, the Georgia kid, and I get it. I mean, he's local. He would fit in with what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta tell you, man, that kid. God dang it, I forgot his dadgum name because I'm an idiot. I'm very sorry that I forgot his freaking name, man. Shoot. Oh, I can tell you this part, but let me explain it. It's the kid at Auburn whose last name begins with an O. There's a kid at Dayton whose last name begins with an O, and he's a big deal, and people want him. I don't think he'll be there at 6, and we don't want him. No offense, he's a really good player, but he's all offense, can't play defense. We need defense. But I can't believe I forgot the kid's name. I've got a rock post stuck in my head now, but that's Brian. He's a football player. But he's this kid at Auburn. His last name begins with an O. I'm very sorry I forgot it. But the write-up that I'm hearing about him is that he's prototypical NBA wing as far as size and wingspan and stuff like that, but he is an absolute dog on defense. And the point they're making is like, you have him and DeAndre Hunter. Like, oh my God, y'all, you get me too excited now. But it was like those two guys plus Collins. It's like the Hawks front court defensively will be prominent. And I'm like, oh, lay it on me. I'm too excited now. But there are several things. As I was reading, I was like, where is this guy projected to go? Like, as far as the picks go. And between 6 and 9 is really popular right now. So hopefully, if we don't have anybody above us that's really jonesing for defense, man, if we wind up with those two guys, the last 2 drafts will be blow me away excited, man. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, man.
I don't think the Hawks are far off, man. It's just like, let's go. Come on, baby.
Sitting there as they pull his name and he's going to do the Hogan. Yes!
Seriously. Will you sign for the Atlanta Hawks? Yes or no? Yes. Will you sign? Will you wrestle Andre the Giant? Yes or no?
Yeah. That's what's up, man.
Take it easy, y'all.
I'll see y'all.